All right, ready to dive deep. Today's question is a big one. It's about power itself. Like, is it really shifting back to the people?
That question, it's sparked revolutions, innovations, you name it, for centuries. And now we're seeing it play out again. And with tech like Bitcoin, AI, 3D printing, no less.
Wild how those three seemingly worlds apart are all kind of pushing towards this decentralized future, right?
Right.
And even wilder, we can see this pattern like throughout history.
Yeah.
For this deep dive, we dug into the sovereign individual, some fascinating stuff, that and a thought-provoking piece from Bitcoin Magazine.
Both pointing to the same thing. History shows major tech leap equals major power structure shakeup every time.
Right, like remember when everyone started farming? You'd think more power to the people, but the sovereign individual argues the opposite, made societies more vulnerable.
Exactly, because suddenly no more nomads, everyone's tied to their land, sitting ducks for, well, let's just say those who redistributing resources, shall we?
Okay, so basically, agriculture accidentally invented the world's first protection racket. Who knew?
History's full of them. But here's where it gets good. Sometimes new tech swings that pendulum back towards individual power. The stirrup, for example.
Wait, like for your feet on a horse, how'd that shift power?
See, pre-stirrup, mounted warfare, all about heavily armored cavalry, right? But the stirrup gave individual knights stability, leverage, way more effective in combat.
So like medieval Iron Man suits, but for horses. One well-equipped knight taking on a whole squad.
Precisely. That power shift, military might, ripple effect, changed the whole rule dynamic. Fast forward a few centuries, same pattern, printing press.
Oh man, the printing press. Now that was a revolution. Before that, information was basically controlled by whoever had the biggest library and the most monks hand-copying manuscripts.
The Catholic Church, they had a good run, but then printing press, boom, information wildfire, individuals challenging ideas, forming their own opinions.
So if agriculture accidentally invented centralized power, the printing press was like the original decentralization hack.
Yeah.
And now Bitcoin, AI, 3D printing, all set to do the same 21st century style.
Parallels are striking? No. Makes you wonder, what does this new wave mean for you?
Well, let's start with Bitcoin. The battle for the future of money, happening right now.
What's compelling about Bitcoin, it offers completely decentralized transactions. No banks, no governments, no middlemen, just you and whoever you're dealing with anywhere on the planet.
Which, as you can imagine, has made some governments a little, shall we say, uncomfortable.
Already seeing the tension. China tried to ban Bitcoin mining 2021. Here in the US, several attempts to regulate it.
But Bitcoin's decentralized makes it really hard to shut down. It's like trying to ban math.
Exactly what makes it revolutionary. But challenges, it's got 'em, one of the biggest. The mining itself, ironically, quite centralized.
Those massive mining farms popping up everywhere, right?
Exactly. Problem is, most Bitcoin mining hardware, made by a handful of companies, creates a point of vulnerability.
So tech's decentralized, the physical stuff, not so much. Good reminder that decentralization, it's a process, not a destination. Speaking of centralization versus decentralization, that whole tension, not just Bitcoin, we see it with AI too.
It's like AI and decentralization, two sides of the same coin, you know?
Yeah.
One side, AI could empower individuals like we've never even imagined.
But then there's that fear, right? That AI becomes this tool for mass surveillance, control, especially if it's in the wrong hands, a powerful few. It's like that Peter Thiel quote stuck with me about Bitcoin being for the people, but AI favors the state.
Chilling thought, no doubt. And it's exactly why democratizing AI is so crucial. Got to make sure this tech is accessible, everyone, not just governments, tech giants, the whole shebang.
Because imagine, just like with Bitcoin mining hardware, suddenly access to the really powerful AI hardware is regulated. We're not even talking cracking down on miners anymore, but anyone with a decent graphics card.
And it's not just the hardware. Open source AI development, that's huge right now, right? Researchers, developers all over, collaborating, sharing their work.
Wild west of innovation. Exciting, but yeah, unpredictable too.
Exactly. But fragile. This open source thing, fragile. Guillaume Verdon, he's been vocal about this, points out that if governments start clamping down on that, on open source AI, could stifle everything, push this tech underground.
Nobody wins then. Like stuffing a genie back in the bottle. Impossible. So AI, it's about the sweet spot then between innovation and, well, preventing the whole world from blowing up.
Balance, yeah, crucial. Got to be thoughtful about the choices we're making today, you know.
Which brings us to our third player in this game of decentralization 3D printing. Might seem out of left field, But 3D printing? This could revolutionize manufacturing, shift that balance of power big time.
The ultimate DIY dream. Right. Make anything right at home whenever you want.
No more waiting for Amazon. Coffee cup breaks, boom, print a new one.
Exactly. But it's bigger than convenience. Imagine printing your own Bitcoin mining hardware. Components for AI systems even.
Whoa. Talk about cutting out the middleman. Governments would have a hard time controlling that.
Precisely. And we're seeing it already, the early stages at least, with the maker movement. People all over tinkering with 3D printing, sharing designs online, pushing the limits. It's really something.
Like the early internet days, anything felt possible back then. But disruptive tech, governments always take notice, and not always in a good way.
Well, if history's taught us anything, it's that governments, anyone in power really, don't love it when something threatens that control they've got.
And 3D printing, it's like peak individual empowerment, right?
Yep.
Create, build, innovate, all without asking permission.
Exactly. Powerful idea. But we're already seeing it, the attempts to regulate, often in that safety security angle,
Right.
That bill in New York requiring background checks for 3D printers that could maybe, possibly print gun parts.
Kind of ironic, isn't it? Worried about weapons, but the real threat, at least to control, is that people could make a world that's, well, decentralized, less controllable. But hey, while governments are busy with the guardrails, people are already out there building amazing things.
Absolutely. And that's what's so exciting. Fab labs popping up everywhere. Basically, these amazing community workshops, 3D printers, laser cutters, all the good stuff.
A playground for makers. I bet those places are buzzing with creativity.
They really are. Over 2,000 worldwide now and growing fast. It's a movement, global even.
So some are trying to control it, others embracing it full on. Makes you think, though, what does this mean for decentralization's future? Feels bigger than just making stuff at home.
You're right. This isn't just hobbies. It's how we think about making things, period. Production, the whole 9 yards. This could be as disruptive as the Industrial Revolution, I'm telling you.
So we've got this incredible potential, really, for decentralized manufacturing, powered by, well, everyday people. Exciting, yeah, but this is happening in a world still kind of clinging to the old ways, those power structures. Where do we even go from here?
Well, one guy who's asking that very question, Neil Gershenfeld over at MIT, runs the Center for Bits and Atoms. You might have heard of it.
Practically the godfather of this whole Fab Lab thing. Right.
That's the one. And Gershenfeld, he's a visionary, I'll give him that. Not just 3D printers, he's thinking bigger, way bigger. What happens when anyone, anywhere, can just make stuff? Almost anything, really.
Exhilarating. Yeah.
Yeah.
A little terrifying. Also, yeah, does this mean like the end of mass production? Are we saying goodbye to global supply chains? Is that what we're talking about here?
$1 million question, no easy answers there. Even Gershenfeld admits, localized manufacturing, it won't replace everything. But here's where it gets interesting, how it could decentralize power. That's the real meat of it.
So maybe I'm not printing my next phone in the basement, but
Huh.
I could print parts for my community garden, their irrigation system, whatever. Or even like contribute to a local energy grid, that kind of thing.
Now you're getting it. It's about shifting things, yeah. Empowering people, smaller scale, instead of those massive centralized systems we're used to. And this is where it gets really wild when you think about, say, Bitcoin, how these things could work together.
Okay, now you're speaking my language.
Yeah.
Details, please. How would this even play out?
All right, picture this. Thousands of people, each with their own little 3D printed Bitcoin mining rig, right? No more mega farms, just regular folks, all contributing to the network, chipping away.
But wouldn't they have to, like, coordinate somehow?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just a jumble of computers? No.
See, you're a step ahead. That's where something like the Tor network comes into play. For those who don't know, Tor, it's designed for anonymity online, but what it really does is create this decentralized, practically uncontrollable network, perfect for something like distributed mining, you see.
A digital ant colony, but for Bitcoin. Each miner, maybe not much on their own, but together. This resilient, unstoppable force.
Bingo. Incredibly difficult to censor, control, anything like that. A real glimpse into the future, a more decentralized one.
My mind's blown. Ancient history to the future of tech, all in one go. What's the takeaway here? What should our listeners be chewing on after they finish this deep dive?
The big takeaway. Bitcoin, AI, 3D printing, they're not just gadgets, not just tech. They're a shift, a fundamental shift in how power works in society.
We're talking a power shift bigger than, what, the printing press? Since then, even.
No less, and it's all still being written. Will we embrace a future where people control their data, their money, their ability to create? Or will those in power try to hold on even tighter, try to maintain that control? That's the question.
Humanity's choose your own adventure. No pressure.
Always a little drama.
That's the truth. But really, folks, a lot to think about here. We just scratched the surface. These topics run deep, but hopefully you've got a better sense now of what's shaping the world around us. And who knows, maybe you will be the ones writing the next chapter in this whole decentralization saga. Thanks for diving deep with us.